Anything means forever, ever, or to never mind. Oh,
G'day kids, it's Uncle Linton here again, and if you remember last week we spoke about blue tongues. We're going to have a look at some blue tongues this week. So we're out here at O Magic Park, and Craig's let us go into one of the enclosures and get some out, because these guys are in enclosures here, so we're not out in the wild this time, but we're very close, mind you. These enclosures are very, very good. And I'm going to go into one of the enclosures and we're going to see if we can find a blue tongue for us to have a look at. So we need to wander around this way. I can see one in here now, but the door's over this way, so we've got to go around here and see if we can get in here. I know how all this works. It's a very big gate here. Now after getting in here, can you see there's a blue tongue down there? And we'll see if we can catch that one. I can see another one there, but he probably won't be able to get that one. We'll have to pull things apart. We'll see how we go. We're allowed to pull a few things apart, which we might have to do. I've just got to get in here like this. And I got him. There he is. I found him. There we go, kids. We've got to be careful. They can bite, but these guys won't. These are pretty tame. Craig's tamed these for us. And so we're looking at things like beautiful colours. If you get that in the sun there, I'll get my head out of the way. And they vary in colour. This one is an orangey, rusty colour, and blacks and greys, which is pretty common, but they do vary. Some of them are more grey and less colour. Others can be more reddy coloured, depending on where they come from. These guys are all around Australia and all across the east coast, so Victoria, New South Wales, up into Queensland, Western Australia, and into the desert. And as I was saying, various colours, and we'll look at this one a bit more in the head. They have a blue tongue, obviously, quite a big tongue, and this one is nicknamed Gene, from Gene Simmons, with the big tongue, of course. And this one has a little bit darker eyes. Sometimes they can have red eyes. And also, I'd like to show you this bit here on the end. Now, this one has a tail that's been broken, as you can see. So it'll grow back. It'll take a few years. But that means that they are actually a drop tail in the drop tail family. So they're actually a skink, in fact. So they're not really a lizard. So blue-tongued skink is their proper name. And what we also look for in these guys, if you want to look at their health, first thing we would look for is ticks in the ears. Now these guys are really, really clean, I must say, which you would expect from O Magic Park. All the animals here at O Magic Park are very, very healthy under the care of Craig. And looking for deformities in the fingers here, even with claws. If the claws are too long, that means that they haven't got enough rocks in their enclosure. See, rocks is what grinds down their little toenails. Now you can see these guys are really good. If there's a problem here, what happens is the toenails grow too long and they start to curl around and they need to be clipped. But in this enclosure, everything's perfect in here. There's no maintenance required. They're doing their own maintenance. These are all really nice and manicured. Sometimes you'll get a bit of skin stuck on the end there, which is not pleasant, but these are all very clean. I've got a little bit of skin left here from the last skin shed on the tail, which is obviously where it's growing back. A bit harder to get off. And what about disease, things like that? Not really much goes wrong with these, but they can get a bacterial infection. They go red underneath a little bit. They can get salmonella poisoning from feeding when it's too cold. And ticks. That's really all that goes wrong with these guys. But if everything's right, you won't get these problems. These guys are outside in an outside enclosure, so this enclosure gets rain, gets natural sunlight, so it's self-cleaning. There's a little pond down there which only fills up when it rains, so these guys don't like water. In fact, they have trouble swimming, and they can actually drown if there's too much water. So, of course, speaking of diseases and things as well. For the kids at home, when you are finished handling your animals, you really want to wash your hands anyway. Just in case they might be holding salmonella. It's unlikely that they would. That's more of a turtles thing. But we have a rule where we always wash our hands after handling any animals in fact. So we would do that as well. And he's very comfortable there, as you can see. Not stressing, not trying to get away or anything like that. This guy was actually captive in a tank before we got him, and he's really enjoying himself in here. It's just as bigger than his tank that he came from. So he's actually pretty healthy, I must say. We'll move on to, say, food. What do these guys eat? They're eating things like, they actually eat caterpillars in the grass, the woolly bear ones. They're the ones with the fur. That's a bogan moth caterpillar actually, or common grey moth you find around your house. And some people call them spitfires. They're not a spitfire, that's what happens when you stand on them. So other things like, we've even seen these guys catching flies, and you can make a little bit of food for them. They'll eat many fruits. We're going to actually make these guys a little treat today. They'll have eggs as well, a chook's egg. In the wild there would be a bird's egg, probably a starling or something that's fallen out of the nest. They love those. And they'll eat a bit of the shell as well for calcium. So we're going to make today for these guys a banana and egg mix, in fact. So we might just show you how to do that in a minute. And you can see he's starting to flatten out there, so he's trying to get the sunlight. They flatten their body right out to absorb more sun. And they can actually change colour in respect of the shading of the colour. When they're dark like this, they're cold, they're trying to heat up, and if it's really, really hot, they'll be much lighter coloured. They go lighter colour, so to repel heat, in fact. Most lizards can actually do that. So there you go, kids. There's our blue tongue there. We've got two blue tongues in here, but the other one has disappeared, although there I can see his tail. Let me see if I can get that one out as well. This guy wants to get down now because he's getting a bit anxious because I've disturbed him. But there is one here as well. Oh, I've got another one, look. There's two. Okay. And this one's called Heenick. That's the guy that brought him. So we do take donations here at our Magic Park, Greg tells me. And this guy is a little bit more agitated because he's more wild. Again, we're looking for ticks and things. You can see his big blue tongue there. He's licking me, but they won't bite. These guys won't bite. If they're in the wild, they will bite. They can draw blood, but they don't have any poisons or anything like that. If you did get bitten, you probably want to wash your hand and maybe sterilise it, just in case they've got anything in their mouth. So there you go, two lovely blue tongues. So let's put them back now, and we'll go and make it some food. Okay, kids, now we've come into the kitchen here at O Magic Park. This is O Magic's kitchen, actually, and we're going to do, like I said, we're going to make a little bit of food up here. We're going to make a banana and egg treat. So this is how we do that. We'll grab a nice clean knife here, of course. About half a banana, because that's all the two of them was going to eat, especially with the egg in. And we just chop this up a little bit like this. See my culinary skills. And an egg, which I've got here. Now this egg comes from O Magic's Park as well, not the banana. Put an egg on now. And I said before, we put a little bit of shell in there, because they'll eat that as well. It's good for them. Not the whole shell. Break the yolk, and we're going to put it in the microwave, just for a moment. The idea of that is to just make it a little bit more solid. As they'll eat it like that, but we're going to make it a bit more solid for them. A bit more roughage if we cook it a little bit. And look, that looks like about right. I can hear it cracking a bit there. You can hear a few little snaps. And that looks good. You can see there we've got some white that's gone white and some that hasn't, so we're going to just mix that through a little bit. Now that's ready to go. Okay. And there we have my beautiful egg custard for the blue tongues. Alright? And we'll go back out and we'll feed this to them. Right. So here we go. We've made this up like we said. You saw me in the kitchen there, and we're going to. I'll just leave my walking stick there. I've got something to hold on to there. Now we had to let it cool down a bit. It's nice and cool now, and we'll feed this to the blue tongues, and that'll be enough food for them. Oh, look, that'll last them a week nearly. And we'll put that in there, and they'll come down and get that. They'll smell that because remember we did warm it up a little bit. Right, okay kids, don't forget to shut the enclosures. And that just about wraps it up for our blue tongues this week. And next week, I think we might be looking at some brown tree frogs. Some tadpoles and stuff like that to do with them. So, until next week, hooroo.